NDC national organizer to cost ministers answering questions in Parliament posed by the NPP minority to be sanctioned.
I will be one person who will be pushing for sanctions against any minister who will respond to such a call. Vehemently, I will, push for that thing to be done. We'll be meeting tomorrow, and when we meet, I'm going to raise this thing, at the meeting, and I'm very sure some of my colleagues are in there, to support. We'll send it to the president.
We hear from Yabuatin who is angry at the minority's decision to ask questions of ministers they refuse to vet. He has vowed to get the NDC National Executive Committee to act on the matter tomorrow.
This top story with Evans Mensah.
Top story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion. Belauca Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water. It's also brought to you by Live Boy as well as Blue Rose Limited. You dare answer that minority-backed urgent question in Parliament at your own risk. That is the warning directed at various sector ministers from the national organizer of the ruling NDC, Yabuatin. He is vowing to cause sanctions to be slapped on such ministers who dare go to Parliament to answer any urgent question posed by the members of the NPP minority. His anger has been triggered by an urgent question posed to the roads minister by the NPP MP for Okankwe North. Patrick Boama Yabuatin says the minority lacks the moral authority to ask any question of 7 ministers because they refuse to participate in their vetting. He has vowed to put the issue on the party's agenda tomorrow when the National Executive Committee meets. He gave me details of his plan when I called him.
Decided that you will not take part in the vetting of these ministers that you want to call to the floor of Parliament, to answer questions that you put to them on that occasion. Then again, you have topped it up with walking out when the man was giving his first sectional address to the Parliament. So I don't see the reason why these people will even have that moral right to do so. If the party will have any other thing to do, I will be one person who will be pushing for sanctions against any minister who will respond to such a call.
Isn't it clear, though, that a party lacks any real power to sanction these ministers because they are ministers of state and not of the party?
Some of the ministers I know are not members of the political party. I think when they were being vetted, they came out to say that they were not card-bearing members of the party. Some of them are free to do so, but it's an advice that we are giving to them. Because they should also look at this point that the person who is being not respected is the one who appointed them as ministers. So they should take it from there. And if they think that one who appointed you is not being respected and they think that they respect them and they will call them and they will go and answer that question, then it's up to them.
And you believe sanctioning these ministers is the way to go?
Vehemently, I think, push for that thing to be done because I think that these people are just, trying to push this thing too far. I think we've had enough.
The Speaker of Parliament ruled last week and essentially said that anybody can ask a question, and once it's captured on the order paper, the ministers will have to respond. It doesn't appear to me that the ministers have any choice in this matter.
Well, the Speaker, that is his view, and those of us, we also have our own view. That is the Speaker's view. Right Honorable Duajahu was part of those people who walked out at that time. Now, if he thinks that he's in the seat and that we should call those people to come and answer questions, then it's up to him. I'm saying that if I'm a minister today, even Duajahu calling me, I won't go. Even if I attend that thing or if I respond, I will never utter a word on the floor of Parliament when a question is put to me by a minority member. Because you cannot just say that you are, you have nothing to do with the president who appointed me. Then you call me. You are calling me in my capacity as what? Is it not as a minister? Who appointed me as a minister? Who vetted me as a minister? Who swore me in as a minister? Who gave me that office of instrument that made me the minister of that particular ministry? So sometimes we need to just be frank with ourselves and, call a spade, and stop, beating about the bush.
Will the party meet on this?
We'll be meeting tomorrow. Every week we meet on Tuesday. And when we meet, I'm going to raise this thing, at the meeting, and I'm very sure some of my colleagues are in there, to support this thing that I've raised. And if it goes on well, we'll send it to the presidency, and the president will have to call all the ministers and also advise them. Because if you do not respect me, then, of course, I also have to instruct those who are my appointees to do same to you people who will want us to come and answer.
Now, the subject of the urgent question posed by the minority member divided Parliament last week and forced the Speaker to rule on the matter. So what is this urgent question all about? And does the minister have a choice in the matter? I'm joined in the studio by our parliamentary correspondent, Elton John Brobe. Elton, so what is this urgent question exactly?
Well, the Member of Parliament for Okankwe North, Patrick Boama, is asking the steps the Roads Ministry is taking to construct footbridges on the George Walker Bush Highway or the N1 Highway to reduce accidents on that particular road. And on Wednesday, the Minister for Roads is expected to be in the House to answer this particular urgent question.
I see. So I recall last week there was a story out of Parliament that suggested that Parliament was divided deeply over this matter. The Speaker ruled on this. What was his ruling?
Indeed, the House last week Friday approved the business program for this week. And then when members were contributing to that particular statement, some members on the majority side wanted the Speaker's guidance on whether or not the ministers should come to the House and answer questions that are standing in the name of the people on the minority side. Because for them, the NPP, they have no moral justification to question somebody they boycotted his or her voting. So the Speaker, giving his ruling, said that once you are a member of Parliament, you have every right to ask a question, whether you belong to a majority or the minority. So with that particular ruling, the MPP Member of Parliament for Okankwe North question, which will require a response from the Roads Minister on Wednesday, will stand. We'll wait to see whether tomorrow, when we go to Parliament tomorrow, wait to see whether the minority will allow the question to stand. But until that happens, we know that on Wednesday the Roads Minister will have to answer a question standing in the name of the MPP Member of Parliament for Okankwe North, asking the steps the ministry is taking to construct footbridges on the N1 highway. So
now that the Speaker had ruled on the matter, it's been captured in the order paper, as you said. Does the minister have a choice in this matter?
I doubt, because the Speaker has given it ruling. If on Wednesday the leadership of the House decides that we will go according to this plan, and I'm saying this because anything can happen from now till Wednesday. The ND's Member of Parliament, the MP Member of Parliament, can decide that I'm no longer pursuing this particular question. But
that's such an important question. You're talking about the N1.
Very important. Indeed, the minister already gave indication that government plans to build 6 more footbridges on the road, but they need a definite timelines within which this particular construction will start. So
but the point you're making is that it's possible that the minister himself asking this question in the wake of all that is happening with the MPP threatening his ministers, and I'm told that even among the minority they're setting dissenting views and people are not happy that he even went ahead and asked the question in the first place.
Right. So we are waiting to see. On Wednesday, we are waiting to see what will be on the order paper. If on the order paper it is there that this question requires a response, the minister will have no option than to answer the question.
And indeed, I can tell you that we called the sector minister, and what he told us basically is that, well, the Speaker had ruled. He will have to go and answer that question. He says he's out of Accra. When he touches down back in Accra, he will have to do that on Wednesday. But is the party within its rights to sanction ministers for answering questions on the floor of Parliament posed by members of the MPP minority? Joining me on the line right now is Programs Officer with the CDD, Paul Nana Kwabena Abrampa Mensah. Thank you, sir, for your time. Does the party, I'm talking about does the party's national organizer, the NDC national organizer, have a point there?
Thank you very much, my brother, and thanks to our listeners. I think part of your question has already been answered by the analysis you were doing with your studio man, your correspondent. It's also been answered by the Speaker of Parliament, and of course, your question posed to the sector minister in charge also answers it. He said once the Speaker has invited him. He has no option than to go. We're dragging issue here. I think morality should be distinct from legality. I thank the statement that you made that my uncle Yabosi just said the MPP does not have the moral right. He did not say legal right. And morality cannot overrule the legality and practice of the Parliament. So I guess once Parliament has a status, once Parliament can summon somebody, let me give you a scenario. What happened? You can't remember in the era of the judgment debts. My uncle Wayomi was to appear before the committee, and his PRO said they were not going to go. Honorable Kanapa said he will be summoned there, and the next thing we heard that he went. So what is the status of Parliament? Do they have the legal right to summon somebody before to appear before it? Has somebody rejected the call to Parliament? These are legal rights that we look at, and the answers to these are no. So yes, once the minister, they have it on other paper, the minister has summoned a fellow to appear before the House, he is obliged to appear it and answer questions. But on the question of the morality, it's a question that we can all deal with. That's why some of us, or most of the people, have started appealing to the MPs to at least consider the interests of the nation, the people they represent. Of course, the Constitution is clear as to what happens after the adjudication. If it is so rude that, yes, your position for which you send the case to the Supreme Court stands, anything that the president has done comes to naught. So why don't we follow that simple constitutional provision that gets back into you, and than to avoiding Parliament and also denying your people representations that they so require? I mean, morality and legality are not the same. So let's look at the reality according to the NDC national organizer. He says tomorrow he's going to bring this up at the National Executive Committee meeting, and the way they want to pursue this matter is through the president. Because these ministers indeed are acting on behalf of the president, and he'll get the president, if indeed his other colleagues back that deal, to pull these ministers off and ask them not to go. The question I'm asking is, yes, we understand the moral and legal arguments, but can the president, if indeed the National Executive Committee will have their way, ask the ministers to stay off? It is not. Yeah, my brother, it is not by mistake that we have three arms of government. We have independence of the three arms of government, and there should be a checks and balances. Yes, the president stands as the leader, head of the executive, and the parliament stands as its own as the judiciary. So there is no imposition that the president can do. You know, the president himself is obliged by the Constitution to appear before the House to do a presentation. That's why he attended it. That's why he went there. It is a design in the Constitution, and each of the three arms of government has its authority from the Constitution. It could not be offset by any other organ of the arms of government. So yes, they can present before the president, they can appeal to the moral authority of their representatives in the House, but as the law stands, and the standing orders and the procedures stand there, they are obliged to attend and answer questions.
The NPP basically triggered all this debate that we are having right now. Some say it's time to hold them to account, because also there's a moral argument in their boycotting of these vettings as well. Now the NDC says, okay, if you did so, we will also reply in equal measure. Isn't that where the problem is, at the very base of that boycott?
Yes, I've said and I've insisted that we have a beautiful constitution on the land. The constitution gives the guidelines and gives people who entertain fears on the guideline a room for justification. The constitution knows that judicial adjudication process can take a bit longer time. That's why it's inserted in the clause that no matter what happens in the course of governance, if the judicial service, that the Supreme Court so rules that even the president that we have sworn in, that has nominated the minister, that has done this, and that, wasn't properly nominated, elected, and therefore he doesn't qualify to be president. If it comes out that way, the Constitution gives away. So I'm appealing to us. So many people have done it. I was happy when the Bar Association, the legal brain of the country, came to appeal to the MPP to resign their decision, because they also know the provision in the Constitution. Christian Council, so many people have done that. So I think it's time the MPP helps governance of the country, helps the people they are representing, and come back and help the process go on smoothly, and rely on the hopes that is given to the judicial system. We all applauded them when they said they were going to resort to the constitutional means, the legal means, to seek redress. It's good that every country follows that. But if you help the system more by accepting what the clauses have also provided, if the case is being educated.
That's the programs officer with the CDD, Paula Brampa. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. I want to stay with us in 15 minutes on Newsnight because we've been speaking to Kwame Penny. He is a founding member of the NPP. He is calling for an emergency national congress of the New Patriotic Party to reconsider that decision taken by the party's own neck to essentially boycott some of these key events relating to the presidents. Vetting was one. The State of the Nation is another. He says the party should call a congress, an emergency congress, so that will be put to vote for the entirety of the NPP foot soldiers across the country to have a say in what is happening in the NPP right now. We will speak to the party, get a reaction to that. You want to stay with us on Newsnight in 15 minutes. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, also brought to you by Belacqua Mineral Water, Live Boy, as well as Blue Rose Limited. My name is Evans Mensah.